Yo,
I forgot my plants. Let me get my plant. I'll be right
dude,
back.
this is like the third week in a row that you ain't got no plant.
Here's my plant.
Get your plants together.
Yo, I need my plant and I need to close this door.
It's so funny because like this plant adds like the tiniest speckle of green to your surroundings, but you know what?
Yeah.
It's giving you fresh air.
It's like a weird abandoned room down here. Basically what it is.
Shoot, man. Well, welcome to Schmoozing. I'm Charlie down here in Miami, Florida.
My name's Eli. I'm in upstate New York.
Yep. You might know us as Soul Clap. You might not know us at all if you're watching in Twitch. And welcome to the show. This is our show.
They're only watching in Twitch. They're not watching anywhere else.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't know us for our music and you haven't watched the show before, we like to talk about music, art today. We're talking about talking about the politics, talking about so many things.
Food.
And we schmooze. We talk about food. And that's what we do on Schmoozing. Yep. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a really great show today. We are being joined by none other than Carl Craig, as well as a very special performance from Greg Paulus and John Camp in Brooklyn, New York. Going to be playing some really great tunes.
Yeah, we got a live music performance, which is pretty exciting on the show. Yeah, for sure. I guess let's run the intro and then we can talk some. Then we can schmooze.
Let's run it.
This is something special for you.
Schmoozing.
So that's it.
Lo I see. Bamboozle.
Schmoozing.
Cocorico. Talk amongst yourselves.
Schmoozing.
So clap.
Are you ready? The show's about to start.
You know, I realize we always forget to shout out people listening back on the podcast. You know, because it's also a podcast, right? It's also schmoozing. If you want to just listen after the live stream, you can do that too.
What up?
The Soul Clap podcast.
What up on the podcast?
You know, shoot. I listen to podcasts. You heard of them?
I've heard of podcasts. You know, I feel like I haven't listened to as many podcasts as when we were traveling all the time together. Because it's like the primo way to make time fly on an airplane. It's good TV. What up? Hey, yo, check it out. I'm wearing some of our new Soul Clap merch, by the way. If you like these t-shirts, get at us. It's available on the Hive. This is one of our new designs. Actually, an old design.
Well, we just freshened it up.
But I just got in the mail like the other day. I love it.
It's great. It's great.
So what's been going on, man? How's your week?
My week, you know, I'm in graduate school, so a lot of school stuff. writing.
You got pencil sharpeners? Pencil sharpeners?
My ruler. I got my pens, my highlighters.
You got Click It pencils?
You know, I got Click It. You know what
I miss, dude? I miss like going to like Staples right before school and like getting new pens and stuff. That was
I got a Trapper Keeper.
Oh, I'm so glad to see that. I bought that Trapper Keeper for Eli, y'all. I'll throw back. I've been waiting to see if you actually were using it.
Here's my Trapper Keeper.
Yo, that is fresh.
But yeah, you know, it's cool. Just working. But what's more important than that is save our stages. You know, as DJs, we haven't been able to hit the road. A lot of the venues we know and love are barely surviving if they haven't gone out of business already. And, you know, we're seeing with the pandemic that it's really hard to hold on. And our government has not done anything for independent music here, you know, in the U.S. And this Save Our Stages, you know, has been moving through Congress. It actually passed Congress. But, you know, it needs to be integrated now into the next COVID relief bill. So we're calling on everybody to act now. Hashtag Save Our Stages, saveourstages.com, I think is the website. You can go, you can fill out this form to contact your Congress people. Or, you know, it's always fun to call your Congress people. That's a fun one.
Have you ever gotten anyone on the phone?
Well, no, you usually often get one of their, actually with COVID, you don't, you just get an answering machine. But
blow them up.
Normal times, you actually get like an intern answering. and taking a message. So it's actually really cool. It's participating in our political process, which is great. And yeah, of course, this is really important. A lot of us independent musicians survive off playing small venues. So without small venues to play, it's going to be really hard. Music coming back, live music, and also clubs. So Save Our Stages is super important. So if you haven't already, get involved. You can do a lot to support the music you love and the artists you love at saveourstages.com. And you know what? This is a rare week where we're not going to be talking so much about politics in the intro. We're just going to keep reveling in the fact that the sign behind you came true.
It's because of this sign.
It's true.
No, well.
We don't. So yeah, today's much more about art.
Things like
much more about art today. Today we're going to talk about art and
talking about art.
Being from Boston, we talk a lot about art.
We talk about art.
Talk about sports. We talk about art. And today, art is the central theme of our show.
There's a lot of art on the show.
And before we get into the main talk about art, let's talk about what do you have on your mind?
This newspaper, this article in NPR about Palencia, Spain, brought such a smile to my face. I mean, it's horrific. This is a horrific injustice to art, but this was the funniest thing that I've seen ever. This is an article about the many botched art restoration attempts that have happened in Spain. And this is like, behold, the potato head of Palencia. Look at this terrible art restoration. Turns out that like these people are like, they're hiring like contractors to do art restoration. And you can see this here, the before and after. Let's go back up to the top, Chris. Look at this before picture. This is a piece of art that's been around. Let's see, since where's my information? Well, I'm missing how long that this thing has been. I'm not an expert on this, but just as we scroll down and the article unfolds, there are some other absolutely hysterical and horrific examples, including this one here, where an 81-year-old church member tried to restore a 19th century fresco of Jesus. This is back in 2012. If we could look in the before and after.
Wow. This is like where they like started doing it and they're like,
this is the original.
Oh, wait, I'm gonna have to smudge it more.
What is going on?
Smudge it more. You end up with,
what do you do? Can you pull off the new paint job and go back to the original?
Fuck?
I mean, clearly not with the example of that statue. There's no way that you can get back. So half the time maybe we're losing our valuable artistic artifacts on account of just some poor decisions. Anyway, well, let's look at one more and then we can move on. There was a really bad one in there. Let's see the monkey Christ. Is that what we just saw?
Monkey. That was a monkey. That was definitely the monkey Christ.
Oh my goodness.
Terrible.
Here, go. Let's see the Virgin Mary one in there. That's also really bad, Chris. Let me pull that back. As he moved on, he's like he's over it. Anyway, go check it out on the NPR app. And there you go. So they brought it back on this one. Here's the original on the left, and then they do the restoration,
and then
they found some middle ground.
They fixed it. I mean, is it really even the original art anymore? It's like when you when you remix the remix, it goes back to the original. What they're trying to do there.
Just terrible.
Well, how about some music? We got our old buddies, Greg Paulus and John Camp, coming to us live from Greg's apartment in Brooklyn, New York. What's up, boys?
What's going on, gentlemen?
How you doing?
Hey there.
What's up, guys?
What's going on? What's the vibe in Brooklyn right now?
It's a little blustery outside, but morale seems to be slipping as the cases spike around here. But you can still get plenty of to-go cocktails, and everybody's just kind of walking around. So,
are businesses are they closing businesses in the city yet, or it's still just kind of business as usual?
Yeah, I kind of have my head in the sand, but someone told me like you realize 50% of restaurants have closed or something. I don't know. It's pretty
Oh,
dark.
generally, yeah. I mean,
But
out of business vibes.
most of the good ones have stayed. I think if anybody was half-assing it, they're definitely gone. But yeah, I mean, people are definitely struggling, but it's so nice these kind of outdoor cafe things and covers up all the trash on the street that is usually visible. Looks a little more European.
Shit, man.
I
did hear that. I did hear that. That Cuomo. I think bars and restaurants have to close at 10 p.m. now, right? That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty dark.
Yeah. So you can't frequent your normal watering holes.
I mean, I don't wake up till 9 p.m. So
Yeah,
I got an
exactly.
hour to get it in. What a life.
Man. Well, we've been meaning to get you guys on the show for a while to come do a special musical performance. And I was reaching out for, just the little backstory. I was reaching out to Greg to see if he would be interested in coming on. And he said, "Hey man, I'm upstate and I'm about to go see the Carl Craig exhibit
Yes.
at the Dia Beacon." Am I saying that right?
Dia Beacon,
Yep.
yeah.
So
Spanish.
we're going to be talking with Carl about his exhibit, and it's going to be great because both Eli and Greg have actually seen this firsthand. So
It's so sweet. And, I saw the performance that he did with Maurice von Oswald when it opened, and that was
Oh, you were at the opening.
exceptional.
oh wow,
That's great.
And then,
Yeah.
I went back and saw it with Lisa, 2 weeks ago? And,
Yeah.
to be in there and see it with, like, totally empty, except for a couple other people. I mean, it was, yeah.
Yeah. We
really
got Carl coming on, so we're gonna talk about the show. It's pretty monumental as far as techno interacting with fine art in the United States. So it's really exciting and really amazing to get Carl on, both for this piece and just generally his influence on us and electronic music overall. He's truly a legend, and I don't
ledge, mate.
throw that term out
He's a
as
ledge.
lightly as some people in some places.
Again, mate.
But in the meantime, I mean, something good that's happened is a lot of music has been written during this quarantine, during this pandemic, and I know you're no exception, Greg. I mean, you're always writing anyway, but I saw you just dropped a new EP on Bandcamp today. That's all quarantine jams?
This one, it's this track featuring Michael Feinberg on bass. The cover art is a picture of my grandparents from the 30s.
They are
My
dapper.
grandma's name is Vonnie, so it's Vonnie's Groove. And that's what we're gonna play today. And yeah, it's just a nice solid.
So
groove.
this is maybe the second time on Schmoozing that we've had a Bandcamp Song of the Week perform live.
That's
Can
right.
Can we run the bit, Chris?
Bandcamp.
Song of the Week.
Let's run that bit.
Run the bit.
Yeah.
Run that bit.
The Bandcamp Song of the Week.
That felt good.
We like to do Bandcamp Song of the Week because Bandcamp is the best place to support the independent artists and labels that you love, especially in these tough times when we cannot perform live. 90% of the money goes to the labels and artists. So it's a much better way than just streaming the music. Go to bandcamp.com, search for your favorite artist or label, and buy that music. Put that money in the pocket. That's right. All right, let's take it away, boys.
All right.
My goodness. Greg Paulus and John Camp, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, that was so dope. Yo, quickly, before we get into it, big shout out from the chat room. It's Good TV. What up? DJ Trends, we see you. Jimpster, shouting us out from Essex. Greg Paul's got a release coming out on Free Range down the line soon. We'll have to have him back on the show to promote that too. But Jimpster, the man behind Free Range. What up, man? We miss you.
Yes,
Dan Bain in the house. Yo, guys, that was so good.
Oh, thanks.
Chat room, who else should we bring in for these live shows? You know, if you have any requests, let's make it happen. Live performances here on Schmoozing. It's like one of my favorite things when we make it happen.
Absolutely.
So let's try to do more of this. George Clinton, yes. Let's get
Yeah, that'll be great. Let's get George on the show.
easy one. Get George on the horn.
Yo, no doubt. Oh, thank you guys so much. That really sounded great, man.
That's enough notes for one day, probably, right? Shut up with the jazz, yo.
Jazzy kielbasa's over there.
Blah, 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 blah.
Bunch of jazzy kielbasas. I mean, look, this is good. When we have you on again, I'd love to talk more about jazz. And you know, actually, this is a perfect conversation to have about jazz and electronic music coming together, because I feel like Carl Craig, who we're about to have on, is also a purveyor of the meeting places of jazz and electronic music and everything he does as well. So, you know what? Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that when we have Carl in. Is it time? Is Carl already?
If he's backstage, let's bring him in. Let's see. Let's have a conversation.
Carl, yes. Calm those nerves, man. Coming on Twitch is
yeah. I just got to get it ready for you guys. You know,
that's the vibe.
Cheers.
We got the good old hair here.
Cheers.
Oh, I didn't go all the way. So if you guys got yours too, here, cheers. Yeah.
If I had, I could go get it. I'll go get one later for later in the show too.
I'm ready to jam with you guys too.
yes. Carl, we were just talking about, Greg and jazz is always like, jazz is such a big part of what he brings into electronic music. And I was like, we'll save this conversation for another time. And I was like, wait a second. Carl, Craig, and jazz and techno go hand in hand. From like the first time I encountered you was more songs about food and revolutionary art, which is like an ultimate meeting place of jazz and electronic music. So kind of where's your jazz background? How did you end up bringing that into dance music?
Well, I was born on a old country road, and my daddy, he just said, "Boy, you look like a jazzy boy, so you're gonna play jazz. That's what it is." So I play jazz. Hello, guys. Hi.
Hey, welcome to Schmoozing, Carl. Sorry, I brought you right in with a serious question, but
no, it's okay. It's okay. I got my tambo. I got my glockenspiel. I'm ready to jazz away with you guys.
Right, jazzy kielbasa's in the house.
The kielbasa. My experience with jazz, because I used to play in bands and stuff, but my first touches were definitely in the back seat of my dad's car when I was small, listening to whatever he had on the radio, which was a station called WJZZ. And, this kind of touches on how far I was actually thinking about music, because I was probably about 6 or something. And I remember hearing this Diodato track, thinking that it was Herbie Hancock. And then I'm thinking if I'm 6, what did I know about Herbie Hancock or Diodato, So it was just that kind of thing that I always had, that connection with the music. And, later on when I started working with Marcus Belgrave and Wendell Harrison and those guys, I was definitely hearing their music, growing up on WJZZ. I just didn't know it was from Detroit. I didn't know who they were. And when I finally, had the opportunity to not only be in the same room, but also work on music together, then it started to dawn on me like, I know this stuff. I know this music, So there's pieces from Lawrence Williams that Marcus played that were amazing, that I definitely remember from when I was a kid. My dad went to school with Roy Brooks, and also Francisco Mora is one of my best friends and greatest mentors, so I have these little connections here and there. So it's nice.
While I was doing research for the show today, I found this video of you and Francisco Mora playing Sun Ra, right? This is that's a really cool. I just popped that in for the producer. I love to bring that in for a second. Because Francisco
used to be part of the orchestra. and Francisco tell you about how he, because his last name was Mora, it had Ra in it. He couldn't be Ra because there's only one Ra, and that was Sun Ra. So he had to go by Ali. That's what he had to go by. So yeah. Francisco and I we're just like mucking about with this whole thing. It's pretty funny.
Where was this one recorded?
Cool looking dude.
Yo, this is that's your jazz look right there.
Man, shoot. I'm ready to wimp the pimp. I pimp the hose.
Right. I saw another comment in one of the YouTubes like, Carl brought his hat out, then you know he's about to get serious. That's how you know he's about to get serious.
That's funny. Yeah. Oh yeah, that ring that I'm wearing. That's my dad gave me that. That ring has real funny history because my dad gave it to me. His dad gave it to him, I believe. He gave it to me when I was 18 and I lost it. And then he had it again and he gave it back to me again and I lost it again. And then finally I grabbed it. I found it in the back of my closet and then I had it recast because it didn't fit correctly anyway. So that's probably why I kept losing it.
That's an heirloom right there.
Oh, my little thing, So if anybody ever tells you that there's no passed down in the black community, we got passed down. We got heirlooms in the black community.
Is that really a thing people say? Is there's no heirlooms in the black community?
I mean, you don't really come across heirlooms too much in Detroit that come from my people.
Is this a generational wealth kind of situation where
probably
to lack of generational wealth leads to lack of heirlooms?
Mm-hmm.
Another symptom of our systemic racism in the United States.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But sometimes there are the aspects of stereotypes that happen that play on something that might be minutely true, but then it just gets blown out of proportion. So whether it's a black man being well endowed or whatever the situation is, it's just something that could have been a situation and then it just gets blown out of proportion and everybody's like, oh yeah, well every black man is well endowed, and I must tell you that I am the most well endowed. Yes, I have an endowment fund, and I'm very well endowed in my endowment fund.
That's the national. You're talking about the National Endowment for the Arts.
Oh yes, exactly.
Not very well endowed.
Yeah. But that's the techno division.
All right, let's bring this up for a second. I do want to get a little of that. It's still really quiet, huh? Even all the way up.
Gods who have created the illusion that they do not exist in people of planet Earth. These gods dwell in their hypocrisy, opposed to your theocracy and your democracy and your monocracy. They dwell in their hypocrisy.
Charlie's back.
Did the show start already?
You're only 30 minutes late.
Unbelievable. I'm so sorry, guys.
We should do it like a comedy show, when the guys walk in late to the front. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah. You're just messing up my whole show.
I blame Florida Electric and Power.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, basically they got a big gator come and it took a bite out of the server box over here, so that's what's going on.
Really? That is complete BS.
I saw an article. There was some gator that was like a massive gator on a golf course. It must still be on the loose.
There's crazy amount of rain, and there's no Everglades, so the wild creatures are just reclaiming. And yeah, this thing was like Jurassic Park vibes, just on some golf course.
Are you sure it wasn't like like a bath salt zombie.
That whole thing was debunked. Turned out the guy wasn't on any drugs at all. He was just eating face.
What?
Yeah,
Dude,
Florida man was just nuts.
Way scarier that way.
Wow. wow. That's amazing.
You know, the difference between Detroit and Florida is that, like, Detroit people have a reason to be pissed off. Down here, they're just, it doesn't make no sense.
Have you been to the hood in Miami? It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I guess for white crazies down here.
Right. Okay. Because in the hood down there, they ain't no joke, man. You don't mess around with those guys. Those guys are out cold.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like, Miami is so segregated. It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I guess, like, I suppose from, like, the real, like, ritzy white neighborhoods. But then it gets kind of melting pot between the Caribbean and the Latin community, and then me and my girlfriend. I suppose we're the gentrifiers, so.
Okay. And you're in the beach, or you're in the city, or what?
No, I'm in North Miami.
Okay.
On the mainland.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. If I knew more about it, I could comment, but I can't.
Wynwood North. 10 minutes.
Wynwood, that sounds like some cash there, baby. That doesn't sound like the hood.
You're like 20. You're more than 10 minutes north of Wynwood. You're in the cut.
25.
25 minutes.
All right.
Sorry. So to go back to this jazz stuff, I mean, I feel like this kind of touches on kind of moving into the art realm, right? It's like jazz has been canonized as this really important American music that, you know, is worthy of museums, is worthy of being thought of as part of the fabric of our culture, studied in history classes. Whereas techno, you know, we're 40 years, we're almost 40 years on from the birth and from the growth of techno as a genre, as electronic music, as an important genre. And it has yet to be acknowledged and canonized by most of the academic studies and museums and high art kind of here in the US. So this is why, for me, the Be a Beacon show installation that you've put together, or that you've conceptualized and created, was so exciting and important. I mean, how has, you know, why do you think jazz has gotten kind of became an important, you know, fabric of the American cultural canon, whereas techno is not? It's taken, you know, even after 40 years.
Well, jazz, you definitely know that jazz is an American style of music. It's something that comes from Charlie Parker, from ragtime, from these, you know, these really quintessential Black American styles of music. And with techno, it got mumbo jumbo. So, you know, we know it comes from Detroit, but, you know, the influences are quite European, as well as they're quite Black American, and it inevitably got hijacked. Techno got hijacked by, you know, people who put that name onto, you know, German techno or gabber or you know, they want to call it, you know, some people might even call new beat techno. They just kind of give it a generic term, you know. And for a while, I don't know if you guys remember, but for a while, techno was like almost a bad word. You know, what did Eminem say? You know,
nobody listening to techno. I mean, you know, for us coming up DJing in Boston in the like late 90s, early 2000s, you could not play techno in the club. That was not allowed. It was all hip hop, maybe some reggae, maybe some classics, but like people were not having it if you played techno.
And furthermore, all electronic music to a hip hop audience in like that moment in time in Boston, Massachusetts was just gay music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Straight up. You're like, oh, Yeah, you want to play Eli. Eli was pushing one of the only DJs at the time playing UK garage music,
Yep.
and this one of our friends, friggin' Tommy Mack from Worcester, friggin'
Of
Tommy
course.
Mack's like, "Oh, Eli, you're playing that garage tonight." So someone put 50 Cent in the club on. Oh no, but then there's Eli playing that garage.
Man.
Thanks, Tommy Mack.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Sorry, that derailed the conversation, but we were saying techno. I mean, techno. It really got derailed for like the whole genre got derailed, I guess, for a while.
Because of Tommy Mack.
Because of Tommy Mack.
Yeah, Tommy Mack. We knew him over here. He better not set foot in Detroit.
Yep.
We'd be looking out for him like Mark Wahlberg. I mean, he'll be probably flipping burgers at Wahlburgers or something. I'm going up there. Tommy Mack, I heard about you. I'm going to give you a smack.
Yep. Smack, Tommy Mack.
Yeah. You know, you realize that Mark Wahlberg has a hamburger shop called Wahlburgers.
Oh, yeah.
And we do have one in Detroit.
I mean, I've never eaten there, though. Is it delicious?
I only discovered it a couple of days ago, and it's by the casino. So there you go.
Says it all.
Yeah, by the casino.
Says it all. I miss Detroit, man. This is the longest I have not been in Detroit since I don't know how long. At least a decade.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, you have to make your way back in. I mean, driving from Boston ain't that far. It's about what? 15 hours?
I'm upstate New York.
We did it 18 hours.
That's only like 10 from me.
10?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe 12. I don't know. Upstate. Yeah, I just go. Well, first, it's like 6 hours just to get to Buffalo from like anywhere in New York. It's crazy. Buffalo's, no matter how far north you go in New York, you're still 6 hours from Buffalo.
Oh.
All the way up there. And then you got to cross over, but you can't cross over through Canada right now. There's no,
you can't do it.
Not allowed.
No.
So I have to go down
now that we have a new president, I think that maybe all that rhetoric that our current president has been spewing out will kind of be softened, and that might soften some of the things that can happen because you know, us not being able to get on a flight to go to Europe, I think has less to do with the coronavirus and more to do with the policies that the United States has. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is that things get softer. We can, you know, start to move around more. Even if the gigs don't pop back, you know, we can still be able to, like, you know, go to Canada and, you know, get some food or go to a strip club or something.
Yeah, Windsor's right there for you. I mean,
it's right here. Yeah.
What's the difference? You go there.
What's the difference between Canadian strip clubs and Detroit strip clubs?
You can see everything in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
There you go.
It's almost like Magic City down in Atlanta.
And like versus America's like obstructed view.
Oh, well, you know, Detroit they probably wear granny panties and then little tassels that they swing around and stuff.
Knickknacks from Wahlburger.
Yes. Yeah, they come out in their house shoes in Detroit.
So back from strip clubs to art. So this is, we're running pictures of your installation over at Dia Beacon. That I actually had the privilege of getting to go to. It's only an hour or so from my house up here, which is amazing. And also Greg, who's still hanging out. What's up, Greg?
Hey guys.
Greg was actually at the opening with you and Moritz.
Oh, cool!
It was exceptional.
Thank you.
Really amazing. Yeah.
So I mean, this is like this canonization of techno music kind of can begin when you have shows like this at real art museums, right? So how did this happen? How did you end up with this opportunity and yeah, let's walk us through how that all happened.
Kelly Kivlin from Dia reached out to us. Initially, they wanted to do an outdoor festival, So they have these huge grounds that would be fantastic for doing an outdoor festival. But from my experience with doing the DMF and then working with Movement, that's enough festival for me. so I didn't really feel that I would be able to bring something that I would be happy about bringing to the table for a DIA festival. But then it morphed into me doing a piece, and it was 5 years in the making, basically, to get to this point. The space is huge, 20,000 something square feet, whatever it is, and it's so reverberant that when we were stepping into this project, my studio was being built. It had already been designed, but it was being built. And another person from that area, John Stork from Walter Stork, did the design for the studio. And, I sent him over to meet them at DIA to potentially find out what we could do to control the sound. And, it was going to be quite extensive to do something. So the ideas changed. We had time apart, time together, time apart, time together, time apart, time together. And of course, during that time, I had more experiences for, musically, more experiences, seeing places, more experiences, and doing things within the art community. And it became a bit clearer, the idea to what I would use the space for, and then we ended up with this. But when I first saw the space, the whole thing that grabbed me were the windows. And my one of my best experiences is always at a Panorama Bar, and Panorama Bar has shutters on their windows that when the peak of the music at 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, they open up the shades and the daylight comes in, and it's like this, it's better than any dancing light thing that all these clubs have. Just the natural light, and people responded to it. And the first time that I had experienced it was I was playing Nights of the Jaguar, and when it breaks down to his raw part in the middle before the beat comes back in, everybody. And this was like really when Nights of Jaguar was new, and that kick came in, and the guy opened up the windows. Ooh. And the people went freaking crazy. I mean, I could have probably played that song 10 more times and they did exactly the same thing, and I would have, it would have gotten exactly the same response. But a beautiful time. So this project is a it's a composite of my experiences on the road. So with the shutters, the lighting, the feeling of the whole thing is like a desolate warehouse. Like you're the only person in the warehouse, and you're the only one that matters. So the party is the part that has the shutters, and then after the party segment ends, it goes into what's called the after party. And the after party is about me and my tinnitus, so after the gig, I don't go, to the after party. I go to the hotel and I sit in the room and it's just, I
want to talk about this, man.
Yeah. So that's what the after party is that you get these stray tones, you get beats, you get white noise, you get static and distortion, but then there's like this pulsating synth that goes through the segment, and that is to give an example of the angst that I feel when I'm sitting in the room and my ears are going crazy, and it's like, will I ever be able to hear again? Will this ever go away? and yeah. So each segment I think is 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then they switch too. So the party, there's a bass line that switches. There's some other things that switch. The after party has maybe about 5 different or 6 different cycles where the sounds switch when each time that they come on, and yeah. So
wow.
I know Greg has to go in a minute, but Greg, I was wondering if you had any questions for Carl or like impressions from your experience going to see both the opening and then also just to go to the exhibition.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him because Greg, when we were speaking before, first of all, we did have a conversation about Tinnitus before this performance, which is interesting that I think we should chat about. But you mentioned something that was so poignant to me about like being in this moment in time.
Yeah,
you know, remember what I'm talking about, Greg?
Yeah. So when I went back to see it, you know, almost empty, right, a couple weeks ago, man, it was super emotional. Because I haven't been in a club since February, and to be in a room and hear such well-crafted sound that, you know, is so full of history really like brought me to the essence of why I love this music and, you know, why I fell in love in the first place. And then these people started coming in, and it was almost like we were in the future, and like tourists were coming in to be like, oh, this is what they used to do for fun back in the day. Like, look at how beautiful this is. And everybody was kind of like, wow, you know, like some ancient lost civilization. And it was just like overwhelming and beautiful. And yeah, just sat there in the room, absorbing it, moving around. It's, you know, the lighting, the installation is so cool. Thanks for doing that, Carl. It's beautiful.
Hey, I love doing it. I'm glad that you got that I'm glad that you got that experience out of it.
Yeah, my experience was so similar, just like not being able to go into big rooms, big sound systems for so long, getting to go into this room and feel this feeling of being in a warehouse party at a rave. Because, you know, when I started partying in the 90s, it wasn't always a full room, you know? There were these spaces, right? That like, and part of it was this reverberation. It was that you would stand in a weird place and the music would sound totally different. And as you walk into this room, you feel the bass, you feel that you hear the sounds in weird ways without necessarily realizing that it's even a song or a track. And then you get to a different point in the room, and then everything comes together. And this really captured it. And also, I mean, to go back to what Greg was saying about this, like capturing this ancient civilization. I went there with my mother-in-law, who I live with, who is Venezuelan and you know, grew up Catholic and
not a raver.
Didn't even know what a rave was. I had to explain it to her, but she was like, "It feels like going into a cathedral," and that's so connected to this, I guess, feeling of looking back on a civilization, on what used to be a way of worshiping, of you know, this something bigger than yourself that you're walking into, that cathedrals capture also. And that was really a powerful piece of this as well.
You know, I wonder if maybe it's like, you know, the cathedral and the warehouse also have maybe similar reverb responses, you know?
Sure.
Maybe it's just picking up on some of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not the vaulted ceilings, because they, you know, it's a different thing. But yeah, the amount of decay that room has is like if you heard, you know, I don't know, the Pope speak, or not the Pope, but the
cardinal,
a priest or a cardinal or whatever. Somebody speaks, and you just hear that decay. Like you can hear what they say, but then you hear more of the atmosphere of what they say.
Oh yeah,
and it gives you that. People find that to be enlightening, and that might be the same thing with this. Is that when you hear, you know, a clap in a room like this, that it might be an enlightening thing because you get that, you know, that sound, that, you know, when we when we were first finishing this up, we had the system a lot louder, and you could walk into the museum, you could walk into Dia and feel and hear this low end coming, and that would have been a really great level to keep it at, but unfortunately it would have been too loud for mother-in-laws and and all the other people who really want to come and enjoy it. It might have been maybe too much of a sensory overload or something for them.
But you do have that as you go down to the basement still. It's not in the whole museum, but it's that sub frequencies that you start to hear and feel as you enter the basement, because this is in the basement of the museum. Reminds me also of that feeling of walking up to a rave or a warehouse, the outside, that excitement before you even walk in and see what's happening. You're like, oh, it's just this bass gets me vibrating on this frequency. So it does, it's not quite, I mean, I can only imagine what it would be like walking into the museum and you're looking at this other art and you're like, but why is there this bass? Where's this bass coming from? And, spending your visit to the museum trying to figure out where that's coming from and then finding the space would be a really great experience.
Yeah, that's I like that.
Yeah.
Where's Waldo bass?
When you're driving, trying to find a party with the window down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we've all done that.
I'm so intrigued by the tinnitus angle of this, because that's such a component of my everyday life, And when I spoke to Greg and Eli about like, oh, how was it? That wasn't something they brought up, but that's really intriguing. And personally, I think that like, it's all about distraction. The tinnitus, like it's always there, but more pronounced at sometimes versus others. And then when it is, it's always like a mind game trying to turn it off, either like focusing on something or even diving into it sometimes to try to like disperse it. But I mean, of course, it's going to be so much more acute after you've just blasted your ears at a party. But I totally share that. When I get home from the gig to the hotel and I'm on the road and I'm sleep deprived and probably dehydrated and who knows what else, like, you close that door, there's that moment where like the motion of traveling from to and from and all the distraction of the party and the people and the environment is gone, and you're just sort of left with this thing that you have to cope with. It's a real mother,
Yeah. And the people, because I mean, I'm sure you have every DJ, every musician, everybody has had arguments with their family or arguments with somebody that that you might have known for a long time, or even with people who might come to you at a gig and they're like, what you do ain't work. What you do, what you do, that's nothing. I could do that, and they don't realize that you have to sit there and you have to deal with these things, with this tinnitus, with these problems, and their thing is just turn the music down. Why don't you just turn the music down? It's like, no, it's not really that easy to just turn the music down, because you have to sometimes you have to turn it up louder than the echo of the room so that you can actually mix.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want it loud so that you can get the vibe to play, and telling somebody that what they do isn't it's not hard to do. That's like telling a heavyweight boxer that taking punches is like telling Ali that those punches from Joe Frazier were nothing, that they could take it. It's like, get out of here with that,
Yeah.
So we're in a business that is quite glamorous. Like boxing can be very glamorous when you're doing that kind of money like Mayweather and all that kind of stuff. But you do take a lot of punishment, and you take a lot of punishment very fast. if the sound system isn't tuned right, if your monitors aren't tuned right, if you can't get the vibe and you're looking for 11, you're already at 10 and you're looking for 11. There's just these sonic punches that are there, and that's always going to be there, and it's gonna, for me, it's always going to be a fight, because I'm always looking for 11, but I need to feel something in order for me to respond to music. And I grew up listening to loud music since I was a kid. I have a brother who's 9 years older than me, and he was always blasting Parliament and Black Sabbath and everything. So I'm tuned into loud level.
What do you do to cope with it these days? Is there any tricks that you found, or you just let it ride?
There is there's an app that I found. I think it's called White Noise, but it has different curves for white noise, and one noise in particular that to me is the most natural sounding is brown noise. So it's white noise with a high low cut a high cut filter.
That's different than the brown note?
I was gonna ask the same question, and I was biting my tongue because you'd be like, Charlie, you derailed me. I'm so glad you did that.
You talking about South Park? But yeah, I mean that goes. I mean that's a very simple thing that when you're in an argument with somebody, especially if they know anything about that episode, is it's like, come on, you saw it on freaking South Park. It was common. I think the British, they had designed some type of weapon, sonic weapon, that was supposed to be used against the Nazis. And I don't know if it was supposed to be the brown note or if it was just another frequency. But there has been use of sonic weapons. Actually, the most recent one was in Cuba. They claimed that there was a sonic weapon that was used. So, and that was what, last year, the year before, or something.
Yeah.
So that's it's on the real. It ain't no bullshit.
Yeah.
But brown noise is white noise with a high cut filter on it, and it sounds more like waterfalls. So I put I could put some earplugs in my ear and then put headphones on, and then I just turn the brown noise up just loud enough so I can hear it over what the earplugs are covering out. And I do that on airplanes so that I can hear what people are saying. So it make me work to hear what people are saying. So if somebody talks to me, then I have to work to hear it. And it's just tuning my brain. It's really not doing anything to my ears. It's doing something to my brain. And I equate tinnitus in many cases to having a windshield with mud on it.
Yeah.
So you have to get the mud off, or even if you have a windshield where it rains and you have to try to look through the spots where the rain has come apart, and then you could still drive. You can't drive as well, but you can still see the road enough to do what you need to do until you could clean that window off. So,
well, hopefully as they continue to create all these advances that are helping people with neural connectivity, with technology, and maybe even whatever they're doing, platelet rich plasma and stuff, that they'll be able to help us with our ears. But we probably still got a ways to go.
Yeah, well, at least we got some type of vaccine for corona that's coming up. So
Look, if everybody got tinnitus tomorrow, there would definitely be a cure for it soon. I guess that's like the beauty of our of how advanced we are with science and technology at this point. If every smart person, every scientist, every doctor puts their mind to something, we can accomplish it pretty quick. The problem is no one cares about DJs and musicians.
Nobody cares about techno.
Think about how many of us are going bald, man. They didn't figure that one out yet. I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. He's still bald. If the richest man in the world has bald head, it's not looking good for us, man.
Oh, well, you know, Elton John, he had his plugs and everything, so I'm sure Bezos can you know, maybe Bezos will end up with a orange comb over like Trump.
Just a big fuck you. So going back to the show, I watched most of this interview you did with Dia that you can go on their website, diaart.org. And I thought it was especially important to address this segment. I just wanted to play a couple minutes of it. It's a good background, and we can jump off from there.
I make, and I think that have to be made and have to be remembered, because it's very easy for new generations of people to come in and work to dominate electronic music, and especially learn or work to dominate techno music and call it their own, whether they're from Belgium or Holland or Germany or England or anywhere, you know. But it's necessary to always have somebody that's sticking it out there, because, you know, right now it's very in vogue to say techno is black music for a lot of people online, especially after these riots and things that have been going on. And, you know, you started the Make Techno Black Again thing. Thank you very much. But you know, for me, I feel that it's important to make these statements like this one, where, you know, this is really a chart that goes from it circles. It starts in Detroit and it ends, you know, in the same way that music has traveled the world in such ways like rock and roll, you know, when it started as the blues and considered race music and only for blacks to listen to, and then, you know, once the Stones and Eric Clapton and the Beatles and those guys got their hands on it and then put it into their music and came back, you know, people here were surprised that the music came from, you know, black music in the US, and it opened up the doors for that music to be heard more, and it just kept going back and forth, you know. And I needed to show that circle that happened with Detroit going through soul music and R&B, and then through disco with Leonard Jackson, then Kraftwerk, then Cybertron, then Juan Atkins. So we're right back in Detroit again.
So yeah, I mean, this isn't a really important thing, and you bring up, you know, what's with all this time at home, and then the killing of George Floyd and the subsequent protest riots, and just discussions generally about Black Lives Matter and kind of all walks of our lives. This reminder that, you know, techno music came from Detroit. I think it's something, you know, you've been talking about, you've kind of addressed already in your art, but, you know, maybe becomes more important to talk about explicitly now than thus that Twitter post. But just first and foremost, like, you know, run through that lineage, I guess. We got 15K people watching on Twitch right now, so I'm sure a lot of them don't really know about techno and Detroit's musical lineage. So I'd say the most important place to start is let's walk through that Detroit musical lineage that led to techno and brought us to kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, Detroit before Motown was actually known for jazz music. Charlie Parker and Miles Davis spent time here in Detroit, as well as Coltrane. Miles actually said Detroit had the worst heroin they ever had, and which all got changed by the time Young Boys Incorporated came around, and then we had like the bomb heroin.
I love Miles for telling it like it is. Always had the best sound bites.
And Miles, I mean, Miles is one of my biggest influences, definitely. Yeah. So when Berry Gordy, before he started Motown, he was a big jazz fan. His biggest influence was Billie Holiday. He loved Billie Holiday, and he wanted to make, jazz music, but then he started writing for Jackie Wilson, and he was doing more this kind of R&B music. And then in time, he started Motown, and they had all the success of Motown. So Motown was like not only a template for Detroit music, but Motown was a big deal for a lot of music around the United States, because Motown was the label to be copied, and it got copied a lot. Motown, in some cases, I think has been a big influence on reggae music, because in the early days, Coxton Dodd, that's what they were playing. They were playing Motown records on the sound systems,
I love those reinterpretations, taking American songs and Motown jams and do them with that reggae feel. That's incredible.
Yeah, they were doing some amazing stuff. So when Motown got to the point where it was getting old to be saccharine, and guys like Marvin Gaye and did What's Going On. We had I forgot what his name is, who made War, What Is It Good For? They started doing this protest music, and within that came the time when Stevie Wonder decided that he wanted to go on his own, and they let Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder actually disappeared and ended up with Tonto's Expanding Headband.
Oh yeah,
and made all this electronic music.
Actually, during Moog Fest, ended up getting a tour of the Moog Museum with Malcolm Cecil from.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I ended up on the same tour as him, which was pretty incredible. For people that don't know, to tell them about the Tonto synth. Oh my God! Let me find a clip. Let me find a link to that photo too.
Because what was surprising to me about Tonto was how much they were involved in black music. So from Stevie Wonder, because Stevie Wonder had the hits, then other black artists wanted to work with Tonto. And another major act that worked with Tonto was the Isley Brothers. And they made some amazing stuff, with Tontos. But with Stevie, with Norman Whitfield, stuff that Norman Whitfield was doing as a producer for the Temptations, but also the Undisputed Truth. I mean, Undisputed Truth was kind of a funkadelic knockoff once they started doing their thing. But they used to do all the demo tracks for the Temptations, and then they did a bunch of backgrounds for the Temptations and stuff as well. So going from Motown, and then with Norman Whitfield as being a major producer for Motown, making a lot of hits, and then he left Motown and started his own thing out in California, and did the band Rolls Royce, and he did some other things, that big car wash movie soundtrack and stuff. He did some really big things. And Leonard Jackson, who was his engineer, was known as the disco king at the time, and that's the reason why Kraftwerk hired him. And they hired him to work on Man Machine.
Oh wow.
And he had said something to them, because I guess he knew Trans Europe Express, that he thought that they were black. And they did that Man Machine album. And of course, after Man Machine was Computer World, which was the big album that had the biggest impact for us here in Detroit. And hence Cybertron, and then Juan Atkins with what he did. And Juan Atkins is known as the godfather of techno, or the father of techno, he should be known as. And hence there's the circle closed.
It's the great connect. I mean, I didn't even know about Leonard Jackson and producing Kraftwerk. So it's really amazing knowledge. And I mean, that kind of discussion between Europe and the US then I guess led us, more recently to where we're at now with techno being this huge cultural phenomenon in Europe, but still often being overlooked here where it came from.
And one more thing that was when I met Chris Franz and Tina Weymouth in Tokyo, they said it was Tina mainly. She said when they made Genius of Love that they were trying to make more bounce to the ounce.
Exactly, but they made something else.
They made something else that's just as legendary.
Yep.
And had such a huge impact on rap music, but it had a huge impact on us as well. And more bounce, I knew that. Actually, I knew more bounce before I knew Kraftwerk because it came out about a year or two before Kraftwerk did. And, that brewed with me for a little while. And I was listening to It's More Fun to Compute. And I thought back about what Tina said and it clicked. And it's like more bounce to the ounce. And if I'm right about that, that's another Detroit connection, a P-Funk connection that just there and back, boom, because everybody was trying to make hits based on whoever else had the hits. And, if you had a big record, then I'm sure the label was like, like when Quincy Jones was talking about when they made Beat It, he said, Mike, we need My Sharona. We need a My Sharona on this album. And then that's how they got My Sharona, was that they made Beat It. And My Sharona is another Detroit record, which is really funny too. But so yeah, like now every time I listen to It's More Fun to Compute, it's just more bounce to the ounce. And it's like, man, it really would make complete sense if that is correct.
Oh man, I'm loving this.
I'm wondering if anybody in the chat room has some favorite Detroit records they want us to shout out, or any questions for Carl about techno in Detroit. I mean, I guess so. You're the what we call the second wave, right? The second wave of Detroit techno. So what was that like, kind of growing up in this time where you start to hear this music around? How did that happen? How did you hear
that? I am the wave.
You are the wave.
I am the wave. I got to start being like Lil Richard and Rick James, like I'm the baddest motherfucker around. You can't fuck with me. I'm the baddest. I am the wave.
Ain't no other wave.
Yeah. When I came around, and what was so funny and strange to me was I don't know, about when Mark Kinchin was getting right back on the scene, right? I don't know if you remember when he was starting to come back on the scene before he really re-exploded. And I was at a gig with him, and I'm watching how these girls are going crazy over Mark, just going crazy over him. And there, Mark is tall and, he's got his curly hair and everything. And is, women like that kind of thing. And, these girls are 21, 22 years old, and they're acting like he's 21, 22 years old.
He does have a baby face.
But Mark and I are exactly the same age. Like he might be a year younger than me. He and Richie might have been born at the same time. So Mark actually put out his record first before I did. He put out maybe one or two records before I did. And then I came out and then I exploded on the scene. The wave. I am the wave.
Typhoon.
Get my little Lewis happening.
Title Typhoon.
The Typhoon. I'm what is it? Iota? Is that the name of the hurricane now?
Yeah. Iota is the one. Actually, luckily, it's now downgraded to a tropical storm. But
damn, I'm not Iota.
Yeah. You're over. You're just a tropical.
Oh, don't say that, please.
I saw our neighborhood got 96 inches of rain so far this season.
Ooh,
Yep.
that's wild.
That's a lot of rain, man.
I hope your studio's not in the basement.
We can't have a basement in Florida, Carl.
Okay.
It's swamp down there.
All right. Okay, there you go. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, when I started out, it was Mark Kenshin was over at KMS. It was me. It was Octave One, who ended up at Transmat. Marty Bonds. See, Shake is a weird one because Shake was actually there with them in the first days. Because Shake's older than I am. Shake might be about 3 years or 4 years older than I am. And Shake, they kind of put him into the new wave, but second wave, but he was actually in between the first and the second wave, you know. Jeff actually might be part of the second wave, but nobody talks about that because Jeff was putting out industrial records before he was putting out techno records.
I always thought of him, like, from my understanding, it's like first wave is Derek, Juan, and Kevin, and then second wave is is you, and you is the tidal wave.
The tidal wave, yeah.
No, I mean, you and Stacy, I also thought of a second wave because I got into, like, because I'm a little younger, so I got into techno via your DJ kicks, via Stacy's DJ kicks, and via Claude Young's DJ kicks. That's another one I thought of. So then, I learned about it via that. I had heard your more songs about Food and Revolutionary at first, but more as like understanding from the jazz side, like we talked about earlier. But then via that, from the DJ kicks, and I was like, wow, this is techno. Yeah. And that's what opened me up to that, to the whole thing. But so I thought of that, like the three of you, I always kind of thought of as this really important force for me, at least. And I think because of those DJ kicks for a lot of people around the world.
Because what I want to make sure that people understand that Richie definitely is part of the second wave.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want them to understand that Mark Kenshin was part of the second wave, because I think a lot of people forget about Mark Kenshin.
Yeah.
And Mark, he was always making some solid records, but what was me at Transmat and how I make music is definitely locked into me being mentored by Derek. And Mark, because he'd been able to make these pop records, he came from Kevin's crew. And Kevin was making pop records. He was making Big Fun, Good Life. He was making, doing remixes like We Papa Girl Rappers, like
why MK, is kind of thought of differently, because he's more of a house producer, right? It kind of shows the diversity, though, of Detroit's sound, right?
It does.
That's maybe why I've forgotten, though. People think just Detroit techno, but Detroit house is also a really powerful thing.
Huge thing.
Yeah, but people, I think, even forget about him as being a Detroit house guy, because they think of Detroit house as being Moody Man and Theo Parrish and Marcellus Pittman and
Scott Grooves.
Scott Grooves, yes, definitely. So Rick Wilhite, those guys. So they're thinking in that level that's Detroit house, but definitely Mark Kenshin was part of the second wave of Detroit techno, and he was a house guy. But actually, when he went to New York was when he really made that impact. He did the Nightcrawlers remix and all the other. I think when he made Burning, he might have been in Detroit when he made Burning. And I Feel for You, or I Feel for You. What was it? I feel something. I can't quite remember. We released a version on Retroactive, a label that I had before Planet E.
Was that other alias like Fourth Measurement or something?
Fourth Measurement, yeah.
That's another big one.
Yeah. And there's another one. Shoot, I can't remember what they call themselves. Lou. shoot. They put out a couple of records on Transmet recently, but Lou actually made Mark Kenshin's first record. And I can't remember made the first record with Mark Kenshin, but I can't remember what Lou's group is called right now. So there's like a lot of crazy history, and there's people that get forgotten, and there's people that fall off, people that stay on, people that this, people that that, blah blah blah.
There's a couple questions in the chat room I just clicked on because I know we want to engage our audience here. And Father Taj Zaxton asking a few different things. He asked earlier on, did Kraftwerk influence us or did we influence them?
Yeah, I mean that goes back to the I think Carl's point about that loop. It's a ongoing loop, right? Kraftwerk was influenced by disco, brought in the sounds of Parliament, and then turned it electronic, which then influenced so many producers here in the U.S. and Detroit.
So here's another one. Swag Beans asks, are there any techno festivals in Detroit for 16 plus? I know the answer to that one. It's called Movement Festival, aka Detroit Electronic Music Festival, which was largely started by Carl. So Swag Beans, go check it out.
Movement.us. Best festival in the world, right in your backyard, Swag Beans.
And then
right, baby.
Another person in the chat room that I want to respond to is Zflix, that's telling me to get rid of this sign here. And sorry, Zflix. This is your reality, my friend.
We got 4 years. 4 years.
That's right.
Oh.
Rub it in.
And I'm going to turn that comment chat off. But
back to the music. Now back to the music. This is actually
for my next trick.
This is another fun story to talk about. The beginning of Detroit Electronic Music Festival, and I mean, I've read accounts that include interviews with you, Carl, but I've never heard it from you. What that was like starting that festival, and what that first year. I've heard all these horror stories. I want to know what happened.
Well, when Fire Festival happened, we were almost Fire Festival.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That close. That motherfucking close. And it was something that, because the city got behind it, but the money, because the city put the money up for the festival, but the money for the artists didn't come from the city until the Friday of the festival. So the festival started on Saturday.
Oh my goodness.
And the city released the money on Friday, and then that's when we could pay everybody that was coming from outside of Detroit and stuff. It was really on the edge of like just falling apart. It was, and that's one of the great things that happens in music, is why music can be so amazing, is sometimes it's on the edge of falling apart. It's like distortion, when you hear distortion in music, like it's technically falling apart. The sound is falling apart. The reason why, and if any of you guys don't know the history of distortion, was that it was Ike Turner, and something happened, like a screwdriver or a pencil got stuck in his speaker of his guitar amp, and that's where distortion comes from.
No way.
That's supposed to be the first case of distortion actually being used, is Ike Turner and is using a guitar amp that had some sort of cylinder that got cylindrical instrument that got stuck into the speaker.
Wow.
So
that's just mind blowing.
Yeah, so this is part of our world, is that we're always, that's, we like saturation, we like distortion, we like all these things. It's almost falling apart, and that's what makes some art the best art, because it just looks like it's almost disintegrating, it's almost falling apart, it's almost not gonna be what it is.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So how what happened the next year? Like, how did you get through that year's festival and then move on to,
well,
how did you overcome?
Well, I mean, I was doing a lot before the festival, so
no, not you personally, but
I was my own man. No,
overcome.
See, the thing is, when you're trying to put something together and you do stuff based on goodwill or spec or whatever, you do it from the bottom of your heart. You do it from wanting to see something great happen. And that's the first year of the festival. We hadn't had the Electrifying Mojo on the radio in a long time. I got the idea for the festival from Sonar, actually. And I saw how amazing Sonar was. So, Derek and I were supposed to start that festival together, and then he dropped out. And he had brought in the woman that we were working with to be part of the whole thing. And I gave her too much room, of course, which, we're doing things from the bottom of our heart and all this stuff. And the first year, when you're watching these things happen, and you don't know if it's gonna happen, you don't know if the festival is gonna go off, and then the festival goes off. Because I was thinking, shoot, if we got 4,000 people or something, then I'd be happy. That would be great, 4,000 people. But people were streaming in every day, and we had 4 stages, and the whole place was full. But it was a free festival, but the whole place was full. And I felt that it was a community project and something for the people, because radio was getting bad. The Electrifying Mojo hadn't been on in a long time, and my lineup was based around the diversity that I grew up on listening to radio, especially Electrifying Mojo or WLBS or some of the rock stations, or WDRQ, which is what Jeff Mills' Wizard Show was on, et cetera, et cetera. And it was something that when it was a success, it was amazing. But with success comes, big egos, and that's inevitably what turned the festival around. The second year, where I ended up not being part of it again, and then the third year was last year, and then Derek took it over in the 4th and 5th year, and then Kevin the 6th year, and then now Movement the 7th year and onward. So at least we got the ball rolling, which was important. But I understand, from coming from the music business, how much big egos can get involved in things. I understand that. And even though my feelings were hurt about how it turned out, I feel a lot better with Movement now being run by Paxahau, and they're really trying to keep the tradition of doing something good with the festival. There's some things that might be more straight ahead, but then they do try to go outside of the box in their way, which I think
one of my favorite things about Movement is always how, the lineup does always have some diversity on it, right? It's like, and there's always those moments just wandering around where you just end up at a stage with some artist you've never heard of before performing, and it blows your mind. And that's the moment, that's the best musical moment of the weekend. It's such an essential piece of the festival. And I think just Hart Plaza, the setting, and being able to have all those different areas that kind of have different feelings just by how they geographically are, just like what they have around the stages is such a big part of that. That's like, that's a legacy of Detroit, Hart Plaza. That's like
Definitely
incredible.
Definitely.
Maybe if it wasn't for that venue too, it wouldn't have evolved into the impactful festival that it's become.
I don't think it could have.
And that was part of the early issue was not necessarily the venue. The venue was something that everybody that comes from our scene in Detroit always wanted to be a part of, because we remember it from the ethnic festival as kids. So, it might be a Greek festival one weekend, and then there's an Arab American festival the next weekend, and there's an African festival the next weekend. And that's what it was always known for. So you can go and eat different foods and hear different music and all that. So for it to be done at Hart Plaza, yes, that was a major point, but there was a possibility that it wasn't going to happen on Memorial Weekend. And I think that's the other thing that makes that festival work, is that it's on a weekend that you can really do a good 3-day weekend, that people have Saturday, they have Sunday, Monday they got to go back to work, but still it's like, okay, maybe I'll take Tuesday off. Yeah, and I'll just stay down here. I'll take Tuesday off, So
for people that haven't been to the festival, I mean, it's incredible. And what these guys have built is incredible. And it is like, what are the two great exports from Detroit? Cars and music. And I mean, they run like parallel, that brings in tourism like almost nothing else except for the Detroit Auto Show, which is a huge thing for the city. So, I mean, this is huge in terms of bringing in cash to the city, as well as bringing an international audience to celebrate the history of the city. So,
so it was funny because the first year of the festival, I made some enemies during the first year of the festival, because I tried to hold back some artists for the second year that I felt were going to be better for the second year, right? I didn't realize how important it was for everybody from Detroit to be part of the first inaugural festival. I was looking at it from a creative side. So the second year was supposed to be more of a driving, harder kind of year. And so a bunch of people got mad at me because I didn't book them for the first year. I wanted to book them for the second year. But one person who I wanted for the first year that's glaring isn't in there is Jeff Mills. And I've known Jeff since I was about 14 or something, because he and my cousin were really good friends, and they used to work together at UBQ and some other places and stuff. When Jeff would DJ and my cousin would do lights and things. So, Jeff had agreed that he was going to come and do it, and then Jeff pulled out. And I think he pulled out. I don't know if he had heard some things, or I don't know what the situation was, but Jeff decided to pull out. And if you know Jeff's a Gemini like me, and Jeff can, Gemini, yeah, that's right.
It was just Eli. Then it was Gotti from Wolfenham. Then it turned out Louis Vega's in the fold.
Yep.
Then it's my girlfriend's in the fold, and now you and Jeff Mills, man, this industry. Let me tell you.
We're gonna get you.
You're surrounded by Geminis. All right. So anyway, I'm sitting in the barber chair, and Jeff's guys like, Jeff ain't coming, and I think this was on Thursday or Friday, and I'm already, biting my nails about, whether this thing is gonna happen. And I had to make some determinations and whatever. And we had Rolando, we had Derek. Derek did this amazing set with Umar Ben Hassan from The Last Poets, which was just unbelievable. I wish we had that on tape. But the closer, and this was another thing that was a little questionable for some people, the closer was Richie. And because Richie's not from Detroit, he's from Windsor, that people felt, that there was a problem with that. And Richie played one of the most amazing sets that I've heard him play. I think that might have been the best set that I ever heard Richie play, was that time at the festival. And Richie is calling Jeff while he's playing, and he's like, listen to this. Look what you're missing. And people are like, Wah! You know, it's like the whole, it's like that bowl was filled with people.
He's got his Motorola flip phone out. So Raquel B313 is asking what year was that? That was 2000, right? That was the first
2000, yeah.
2000. So it was definitely Motorola flip phone. There was no smart.
It was a StarTAC.
Knowing Richie, it might have been some futuristic shit that some aliens brought him and dropped in his lap, told him to test it out and see how it works. I don't know. But yeah, that was a trip. So Richie was trying to rub it in Jeff's face. Jeff's in Paris or somewhere else. He's like, yeah, you missing it. Because Jeff was supposed to close. That was supposed to be my closer.
One of my favorite movements actually was when Jeff did close the festival as the Wizard. That was maybe like 2009 or 2010. That was just incredible. That one. Wow. But Richie's probably closed the festival more than anybody else. I mean, he's many years I've seen him close. Yeah,
Richie, you know, I gave him the closing set first, and yes, he's closed.
He ran with it.
He ran with it. Yeah, he ran with it. But you know, I mean, all these guys, I love them all. You know, I mean, it's just everybody. You don't understand in the early days, you know, the differences in personalities and stuff, because everybody's competing with each other. But then as we get to a point, you know, decades later, it's like, man, you know, you see the successes, you see the failures, you see all these things, and you just take it all in. And it's just like, I love every single, you know, second that I've had with these guys over the years, and our journeys together and our experiences, and our, you know, sitting down and having, you know, dinner and drinks and conversations, and, you know, just real crazy, just real amazing stuff. I love
when you guys get together, do you look at each other and you're like, wow, this is like, wow, you know, we really come a long way? Or was there that energy back then? Did you feel like, oh my gosh, we've really stumbled onto something and we're gonna, you know, take this to the stratosphere?
The guys that I'm most in contact with, and this is on a daily level, is Kenny Larkin, Stacy Pullen, Derek May, and Kevin Saunderson. And, you know, we just reminisce about all these things. You know, we just reminisce about the times, and it's quite amazing, because sometimes Kevin is just like, man, you know, I could use another good life right now. You know, it's funny. It's really funny. But yeah, you know, we just had so many great experiences, just so much great times.
This is something, I mean, like, that we've lost these last 6 months with the pandemic. I mean, more than anything is this time spent with our, you know, fellow DJs, fellow musicians in the club, out of the club, with friends, you know, at dinners, just even anybody, you know, being out at the bar, just having somebody over for a drink. Like these casual moments are what we lose, and what is such a big part of, you know, not as much, but, you know, it's a huge part of what we do with our music, with electronic music, with dance music, with clubs, like with all of this is it's really weird. It's like losing a part of your body.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like a vacuum a bit, you know, making music for internet shows or Are you guys doing the drive-ins over there in Detroit?
No, nobody's done a drive-in yet. No.
Didn't they have who do we have? Someone said they played at the old Tiger Stadium.
Rick Wilhite did a party there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something.
I played that. Yep.
Nice.
Delano Smith and Yeah, that was cool. I mean, what we're doing right now is the equivalent of what my kids do when they're in school now, because they're in school at home in front of the computer. And when we were meeting everybody at the club or at restaurants or whatever, that was like recess. We were going to school, and you see all your friends at recess, the ones from 7th grade, the ones from 8th grade, and everybody just is commingling with each other.
Yeah, those are the chances. Those are like those, you're talking about these happy accidents that are music, right? Those are those chances, those chance encounters that lead to exciting creative moments, that lead to new ideas, cultural exchanges that we can simulate here virtually, but it's never the same as that energy of being in a room with somebody or out on a field, out on the playground, those are the moments as a kid, for sure.
Yeah, it was great. Did you guys ever have the kid, there was always one kid that would take a needle and he stick it through the skin of his finger and put it through?
Ew. I remember too, like the kid who could do that weird thing with their tongue that's like where it gets all curvy.
Oh yeah, I mean I can't do that.
Oh right, when you make it do the wave.
Like where you just put it against your teeth, where they would put it against their teeth and like this, and it would like be like a zigzag.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah, maybe that's a rarer one. But I see a kid who would always do that. I was like, how do you?
Yeah, because we used to do it where you just kind of put your tongue underneath the roof of your mouth, and then you spit from underneath it, like
leaking.
Yeah. We have actually a musician friend who can click like the loudest sound you've ever heard.
Oh my God.
Yep. Shout out Wiley.
Wiley is what is he talking in some type of native tribe language from the deepest, darkest jungles?
Yep. Scott. Yeah.
We got to have him on the show just to do that.
Do the click.
To do the mouth thing. Yep.
Do that.
Well, look, I wanted to play. There's a couple more clips I want to play before we say peace out. One of them is your only music video. I think you mentioned that you only have one music video.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's from this album that keeps coming up, More Songs About Food and Revolutionary Art, which has this great quote on it that I was reminded of when I was doing some research on the Dia Beacon show, which is the author Steve Sawtell. And
Jeff Sawtell.
Revolutionary art is not determined by its avant-garde content, nor its formal or technical trickery, its interpretation of reality, or its verisimilitude, but rather by how much it revolutionizes our thinking and imagination, overturning our preconceptions, bias, and prejudice, and inspiring us to think ourselves and the world. So that, to me, the album did that for me. So it's amazing to go back and read that. But this is the only Carl Craig video from that album, which was like 96. That came out, right?
Yeah, that was Jeff Sawtell is my son's grandfather. Those idiots.
Who are those guys?
It's like what's that guy from Chappelle that would all the robot. But I don't know if you noticed or if it makes any difference to anybody, but that there is no eighth note hi-hat in this. So there's no like there's none of that.
This is something I remember so much from listening to those DJ Kicked albums. It's like it's often like it's hard to tell the one on a lot of these great Detroit techno records, right? They're just like they're more swirly than back and forth. You know?
Yeah, but you know, we weren't doing things to sound like a clock.
Right.
You know, so that's where a lot of music is right now. And even when I sit, a lot of electronic music is right now. Even when I sit in the studio and I'm messing around with something, for some reason I get that eighth note hi-hat thing that keeps, you know, it keeps that clock thing going. And you know, I hadn't used that for a long time until I think maybe after Basic Channel was maybe when it started, like, okay, you know, because they were able to do it in a way like when disco was when you know, Jive Talking or when Staying Alive happened, or even the drummer oh man, I can't remember his name, who used to be the main drummer for all that stuff that came out of Philadelphia. That Philly International stuff.
I just heard a great interview with him in Love Injection, a magazine out of New York. They had an amazing what's his name? Yeah, he did all the MFSB stuff and then
exactly, yeah. Most of the stuff that's on Salsoul, all that stuff is him as well, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Earl Young from the Tramps.
Earl Young, exactly. Nice. And his biggest hit was Disco Inferno. That was his band, the Tramps.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, there's a different thing when you hear how they were playing or how he was playing what he called the sock cymbal, which is the hi-hats. And you know, it was this kind of thing with a lot of grace notes that even though you had 4 on the floor, kind of a hard accent on eighth notes, you still had all these grace notes that was going in between, which was, you know, whatever he was doing on snare, whatever he's doing on the hi-hat at the same time, maybe a little bit of something in between on the kick drums and that made that sound, which was that amazing cacophony of just, you know, rhythm and tone and everything. And then it got, you know, put to the side. Of course, House was doing it, but House was still doing something else. You know, so House and techno, we were doing some very similar things with rhythms and stuff. And then when Basic Channel came, then that kind of made it where everybody started doing this Basic Channel sound, and it just became very defined. You know, hi-hat, kick, snare, boom, that was, or clap, boom, that was it, you know.
Game changer.
Those guys, we put out, because even the first record that was technically a Basic Channel record, which was Quadrant, which I put out on Planet E before Basic Channel came out, didn't have that sound. It was, I think it was Phillips track or something, Phillips track 2 or something, that was the one that started it, and then that changed the whole Berlin sound, and then that influenced everybody outside of that.
Interesting.
It's been a while since there's been a record that really caused that much almost disturbance, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, the guys at Gramophone in Chicago were calling me up like, who are these Basic Channel guys? You know, I know you know them, you know, Quadrant, blah 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 blah. I was like, yeah, you know, it's a secret.
Chill out, Chicago. No.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to ask you about that last record on the music video, because that bass line, that's something else. What, there's some sort of filter on there, or is that just, was that a patch setting or something? Can you reveal some production secrets? Do you remember?
You know, there's so many things I had done straight to DAT, and that was probably one of them. And any type of filtering was done live. So there was no there was no like LFO modulations that would do something to the filter. It was me messing around. So a great example is the Dave Angel remix that I did of Airborne, which is the one that's called the Drum Sucks mix. And you know, it's just me modulating everything, but I'm mixing it at the same time, and I'm adding not resonance. I'm adding release and taking away release and making things shorter, making it longer, and adding filter and doing all that stuff.
Hear that, kids? Get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
That's something that you kind of always done, is have these tracks that are no drums for long periods of time, which is not.
I mean, that record had 0 drums, and other than the hi-hats, you know, but that was it. You know,
I remember that remix of Junior Boys.
Oh yeah,
that starts Out Like a Child. That's just the power of no drums, but still just huge in the club.
Yeah, and that's like I haven't been on Twitter since the election, because I decided I didn't want to. My life was getting too overwhelmed by me fighting with people on Twitter, so I decided that I didn't need it, and that when the election was happening, it's like, okay, I'll see you guys after the election. And I haven't been back on since the election. I actually, Instagram's the same thing, and my life has been so much better since I haven't done that. But I would do these things that I miss doing, which are called Uncle Carl's Pro Tips, and Uncle Carl's Pro Tips, I would talk about these things that I'd done in the past, these things that I do in the studio now. You know, some stuff is like kind of a diary for me, but it's also like a guide, you know, to maybe you're stuck on you're making a track and you're stuck and you don't know what to do. Kind of like Brian Eno's cards, the oblique strategy cards. Yeah, so the oblique strategy cards were designed that when you found yourself in a rut, you go to the card and you flip a card and it'll say something like, go outside and take a piss or something.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's what you go do. And then when you come back in, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, you know, I was sitting in the studio for 10 hours, never leaving, and I went out to take a piss and came back, and now everything's different, you know. So my Uncle Carl Pro Tips, and one of the Uncle Carl Pro Tips that's important is music first, drums last.
I'm hip to that.
Yeah. And that's an influence from, I can't remember, I think it was Billy Joel. I read an article a long time about from Billy Joel, and he said, yeah, you have to focus on the music first, forget about the drums until you get the music right first. And then boom, that's it. Now that's the opposite way of how people mix records. Because when you mix records, you start with the kick drum and then you build everything around the kick drum. But when you're composing, you're supposed to not even think about it. Because when you're composing and, you know, you've got the whole time, you're never going to change it because you're composing around something that goes the whole time. But if you're composing and you're making, you know, your music and you're letting it flow and stuff, then that makes it possible where you can play other rhythms, and the music will make you play a rhythm that's different. You know, it'll make you play 16th notes with rests. You know, it'll make you do things where you want to be a little funkier, you know. And another trick that I do is that I'll take a 16th note pattern, and then I did this on Rich, the remix that I did for Richie, Mind and Rewind, and I just have a 16th note pattern, just, you know, doing this. And I have the fader on the neve, and I'm just recording the fader on the neve, and I'm making a rhythm from the fader. So it's 16th notes, but it's
the manual LFO.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of me programming that in, because I would never program anything like that into the drum machine, that I was doing it freeform and making rhythms based on that.
Tactileness is something that really is amazing. As we've started using more and more gear over the years, just to be able to actually do things with your hands on your mixing board with the knobs is really an amazing thing to be able to do. That starting out on computers was not something that started out just being with the trackpad.
Right.
You'd be tactile with the trackpad.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Great trackpad though.
Yeah, man. We got really good with that trackpad and for a while there.
Yeah, but look at me now, man. I got my
Oh shit! All that
trackpad, man.
So before we say bye, tactile. Before we say bye, we had a couple of folks send us some questions on Instagram. Speaking of your favorite medium right now, I also love not being on social media. I mean, I go on sometimes, but been very busy with other things. It's really nice to just spend days doing other stuff for sure. That's another pro tip right there. Stay off social media. But we do have people on IG who sent over some questions. So let's run the questions before we say peace.
Oh, Teshna. What up, Tesh? That's the homie down here in Miami.
Okay, good.
What's your favorite analog synth at the moment?
Technically, they all do the same shit.
Trick question.
Yeah, technically they all do the same shit. I like, and you can kill me later. I like Dave Smith's AS1, that Pioneer.
Ooh,
that's a fun one.
You got one of those, Eli?
Yep.
Yeah, because it's no nonsense. It's like everything that you need to do is in front of you. You have you do have a programmer for it, but all you need is just some resonance and some filter and stuff like that, and boom, you got it. So I like the AS1. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say some crazy ass esoteric shit. Oh yeah, I got a mini Moog. I spent 100 G's and mine is bigger than everyone else's. It fits inside a Dia.
You got a Tonto, right? I thought that's like what you.
Yeah, I got the Tonto.
Yeah, I got Tonto. Yes.
All right. What's next?
That's great. That was a good one.
Here's a good one. Your 2001 Abstract Funk Theory was a hella cool mix of various artists, i.e. B-52s. Will you do another?
Oh, man.
SB
I
Funk
love the B-52s.
I love
My
the
goodness, do
B-52s
I
too.
love the B-52s.
Yeah. They were a huge influence. Actually, I wrote a letter to Warner Records when I was a kid because I love the B-52s so much. So
What did you say? You're like, I love them.
Yeah, I don't know what they sent me a letter back, but not from the B-52s, and I actually met the B-52s later. Or at least Kate and another one, but
was Cindy? It's Cindy and Kate, right? One of them lives up near you, Eli, in upstate New York.
They
have like a you can rent some Airstreams she's got going on over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think Fred Schneider lives up there too. He lives somewhere around there.
So cool.
Fred's up here.
I would love to do another Abstract Funk Theory, but I think that label is out of business.
Oh,
yeah.
Womp womp. In the Limelight is asking, what the fuck was the deal with that Robert Palmer-esque Boiler Room show in the mountains?
What the fuck kind of question is
Well,
that?
you see that I did a piece of Dia, right?
Yes.
And you see that my art is beyond what you know of as music. So just think of it as art. You can't always understand art. And that was a statement that was the highest form of art for me. And most times, people won't get it when you do it, but they'll get it later. That's been my whole career, actually. My whole career has been making tracks that was just, it might like Bug in the Bass Bin. I remember motherfuckers hated that shit. And then what did it do? It influenced drum and bass. It pretty much made drum and bass.
Yeah.
And that's another style of music that was highly influenced by Detroit, because Bug and the Bass Bin, the rhythms that you hear, Goldie was the one who reinterpreted what I did with Bug and the Bass Bin, because Fabio and Groove Writer had played it at 45. And then also,
wow,
the bass line is known as the Reese bass line, which is a sample from Kevin Saunderson.
Yep.
So drum and bass technically was majorly influenced by Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So to go back to my my Boiler Room, that a lot of people just
which one is it? I need to go watch this now.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah, it's I did it for a friend of mine has a festival in the Swiss Alps, Polaris Festival, Miracle Loco, and he asked me to do a Boiler Room, and I decided to do a Boiler Room where I was going to push the boundaries, because I've done many Boiler Rooms in the past, and so many people were upset about it that I just have to laugh my ass off.
I gotta see this, man.
Because the Boiler Room
I don't see this on YouTube.
Yeah.
How do I find this? It's like hidden.
Put it up, Carl.
No, I had them take it down because people just didn't get it. So I told them to take it down.
Wait, you can't retreat though. We just gotta wait a few more years.
What? That was the great thing about music at the time, before all this internet shit, was that you had to search for it. If you wanted a copy of something, if you wanted a Betty Davis album, that was out of print, you had to search for that shit. So if you want to see it, you got to search for it.
If someone's watching that has that downloaded, please send it to Eli and I, because we haven't seen it, and it's not there. So
yeah,
please.
No, people, they still got it. They're holding on to it, which is really funny. And but that's like one of the most iconic moments for me too, because I have this Seth Troxler sent me a photo of myself from him watching me on a Boiler Room, and I'm wearing this big black fur jacket with these big ski glasses and stuff, and it's a real Sun Ra moment. I love it.
Wait a minute. And are you doing Paperclip People live?
Probably, yeah.
I think I've seen some part of it. No, man. That was far out though. I like it.
That's what's necessary. And with Boiler Room, you see a template. The template is that they have a camera on the DJ, there's people behind them, and everybody goes nuts when they play something. The DJ looks back, the DJ does this, the DJ does that. It's like a typical Boiler Room set that everyone does. And like I said, I've done a few of them. Actually, the other one I did that was a favorite of mine was that we did a Boiler Room from Richie Houghton's apartment in Berlin, and I took my pants off, and that was a lot of fun. So with somebody asking me, I was like, yeah, fuck it, pull my pants off. It's like, let's do this, and I was playing at my skivvies.
Which begs a question now in this modern Zoom live stream era. Are you currently wearing pants?
No. No, I'm not wearing any pants right now. No, when I don't have to, I'm like Al Bundy, when I don't need to wear pants, I like, either open them up and stick my hand down or just take them all the way off.
Where do you like that?
But, I got to remember in future that when somebody asks a question, I should do the Michael Jackson. That's ignorant. That's ignorant. That's ignorant. See, that's ignorant.
Oh man, I think he was up in the tree when he said that, wasn't he? Do you remember? Oh man, Mike.
Were you referencing South Park again?
No, man. Don't you remember the Mike, the Neverland? He's like on they're interviewing him at Neverland Ranch, and he's up in a tree.
Oh, I never saw that one.
Oh
That's
my
great.
God. Incredible.
Yeah, that's marvelous. Yeah.
I laughed so hard, I got kicked out of StreamYard.
As long as I don't get kicked out.
Did you ever see that
I don't get
Neverland?
kicked out because I'm the fucking wave, baby.
Did you see the Michael Jackson interview when he's up in the tree, Eli?
No, I never saw that. No.
Well,
Gonna have to. Is he up there with Bubbles?
We should only now do interviews up in trees.
He's up there with Bubbles in the tree.
Did you know, Carl, that I got spit on by Bubbles the monkey? Bubbles, sorry, the ape.
Okay.
At
I
the
didn't
Center
realize
for
Bubbles
Great
was
Apes in Wauchula, Florida. A friend of my girlfriend, Natasha, Erica, shouting you out, Erica. She was a volunteer working there for a while, and we drove 3 hours north, and it's a center for retired, entertaining apes and rescue apes, orangutans, and chimpanzees, and Bubbles is there. And I was like, I gotta see Bubbles. I said, Bubbles. And he said, and he spat on me.
Okay. I'll give you a really bright light in relation to this. Are you ready for it?
Shoot.
Are you ready? At least Bubbles didn't rip your face off.
Guys, we're well over 2 hours. We've devolved the monkeys ripping faces off. It's time to move on. Carl,
from jazz to face ripping.
Thank you so much for schmoozing with us. It's been a great schmooze.
Oh yeah,
glad to be here. Sure.
And also we didn't mention. Thanks so much. We're really excited to be on this Detroit Love compilation that DJ Holographic is curating. So it's great. It's a real honor to finally make it onto Planet E Records. So
absolutely, lovely. Yeah, Holographic is wonderful. I love her.
Yeah,
and I'm glad to have you guys on. Honored. Thank you very much for being a part of it.
Yeah, it's ours. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
All right, babies.
Peace out,
Peace. That was. I don't think I've laughed that hard on a schmooze. That was incredible.
Carl's great. We got some serious knowledge dropped, some serious jokes told. We're schmoozing. Next week we have A Tribe Called Red.
Oh, this is gonna be a great
Canada,
episode.
And that's our big fuck you to Thanksgiving, fuck you to Columbus. We're gonna be talking about Indigenous rights. We're gonna be talking about being Indigenous in the electronic music scene, because there's very few
seriously under
Indigenous American artists. Tribe Called Red are Canadian Indigenous, and I'm really curious about their story, what they got going on, and they bring a lot of their roots into their music. So it's really cool. Excited to dig into that, something totally different. Yep. Thanks to everybody for tuning in here on Twitch.
Sure. It's a great show.
And we got our vinyl thoughts.
Moving on to vinyl thoughts. Play a little bit more from Carl Craig. This is under his 6ix9ine alias. This is from the EP called Light Music, Lite, which was released on RNS and Planet E together somehow. And 6ix9ine is the alias because 1969, it's a birth year. So, moving without further ado, this song is called Desire. See you next week, y'all. Great show.
Peace.